Welcome to Active Shooter, the podcast.
After decades now of mass shootings, we haven't found the answer.
A tribute to the victims of two mass shootings.
Thank you for listening to Active Shooter, the podcast.
You are listening to Active Shooter, a podcast that may contain adult themes, explicit language, and graphic depictions of violence. Portions of this show may be traumatic for those under 18. Listener discretion is advised.
That deadly rampage tonight, police calling it premeditated mass murder. It lasted several minutes, shaking young people witnessing it all in the streets, stunned when it was finally over. Authorities say this is the gunman's BMW where it crashed to a stop. The windshield shattered after those shootouts with police. Afterward, the bodies covered in sheets on the ground, 6 victims. Tonight, there is an intense focus on a Hollywood director's son believed to have been driving that car. He had posted videos on YouTube. Many of them could hold chilling clues.
In today's episode, we will discuss a person who has been described as the supreme gentleman of the incel community. The term incel comes from involuntary celibates. In 1993, a female Canadian university student created the term incel when she started a website where she could discuss her sexual inactivity with others. The woman who started the website has stated she is appalled at what the term incel has become today. She never wanted the term to be known as a bunch of guys blaming women for their sexual problems. An incel is described as a person who is unable to find a romantic or sexual partner, even though they want one. Recently, the website Reddit shut down a subreddit group of about 40,000 members because of the amount of mass shootings committed by people identifying themselves as an incel. To be more specific, there have been at least 4 mass murders by self-identified incels, which has resulted in 45 deaths. If you've listened to our prior episodes, you know that the Active Shooter podcast team has taken the no notoriety pledge, and we will not be sharing the real names of the shooters that we cover. We will be giving the shooters a pseudonym, and refer to them by that name throughout the episode. This will help in clearing up any confusion in the story, while remaining true to our pledge in not naming the shooter by their actual name. In today's episode, we will be referring to the shooter as Lucas. At 7:38 p.m. on Friday, May 23, 2014, Lucas was seen on surveillance video entering a Starbucks. He ordered a triple vanilla latte, paid for his order, and returned back to the apartment at 6598 Seville Road, No. 7 in Isla, Vista, California. This is where the first of 17 crime scenes took place. Lucas waited patiently as his 2 roommates and their friend entered the apartment. Each of the 3 men were murdered separately as they walked into the apartment. After killing his first 3 victims, he went to his room, changed his clothes, as they were now covered in blood. After putting on a clean set of clothes, Lucas uploaded a video he recorded earlier called Retribution. He also emailed a manifesto to his parents, counselors, and other friends and family, about 30 people in all. His manifesto rambled on and on for about 140 pages. He talked about his life story, starting with his birthday, and continued talking about the rest of his life. Towards the end, he started describing how his ideal world would consist of no women at all, and his ideas about how he planned to create such a world. In the Retribution video, he reiterated a lot of the same things he wrote in his manifesto. He discussed his plans for that Friday night more in depth, including how he wanted to go into a sorority house and kill the women because he felt rejected by them.
I am going to enter the hottest sorority house of UCSB, and I will slaughter every single spoiled, stuck-up blonde.
YouTube removed the video because it violated the company's guidelines, as it threatened violence. After uploading his video and emailing his writing, Lucas got into his car, a 2008 black BMW 328i sedan, and began driving. he decided to follow his plan and go to a nearby sorority house located at 840 Embarcadero del Norte. He exited his vehicle and began what was later described as aggressively pounding on the front door. None of the girls inside recognized Lucas, so they didn't answer their door. This decision probably saved their lives. That didn't stop Lucas from killing, though. 3 females, Bianca Deacock, Veronica Weiss, and Catherine Katie Cooper, were walking in front of the house. As Lucas drove away from the sorority house, he shot the 3 females, killing Katie Cooper and Veronica Weiss while injuring Bianca Deacock.
I see his face, he smiles at me, and just starts shooting. Like a smirky, grimacy smile, but it was a smile. He was just, he wanted to do this. He looked happy about it. Honestly, first of all, it didn't seem real. I thought, is this rubber bullets? And then I realized I'm bleeding. I'm in pain.
He continued driving towards Pardal Road. He drove past an unoccupied building on 6560 Pardal Road and fired a single shot into the unoccupied building, not injuring or killing anyone. After driving past the vacant building, he continued to 6549 Pardal Road, where a deli sat. As he drove past, he shot a single shot towards Christopher Ross Michaels Martinez, who was standing outside in front of the deli. The shot killed him. Chris went to the deli to purchase a bag of chips.
He fired 2 shots in. It stopped for about 2 seconds before they just started raining through.
Killing Chris didn't slow Lucas down, though, and he continued to drive towards Embarcadero del Norte, where he saw a man walking. Lucas veered his car into the man, intentionally striking him. The man was injured. Again, Lucas continued to drive. He drove to 6533 Trigo Road, where he shot a male and female who were walking on the sidewalk. Both were injured in the blast. Lucas arrived at the intersection of El Embarcadero and Sabado Tarde. There was a female walking on the sidewalk, and Lucas aimed and fired at her, injuring the woman. Just north of the intersection of Del Playa Drive and El Embarcadero, Lucas fired another shot towards Sierra Swartz, but Sierra was incredibly lucky, as the bullet missed her, and she wasn't injured. 2 males walking at 6653 Del Playa Drive wouldn't be so lucky. Lucas drove his car towards the 2 men, intentionally striking them with his vehicle. Both of the men survived, though they were injured. At 6688 Sabado Tarde, he hit another male that was skateboarding on the side of the road, injuring him. Just down the road at 6620 Sabado Tarde, he veered his car toward yet another man who was walking on the side of the road. This man was almost injured, but thankfully not seriously. In front of 6573 Sabado Tarde, Lucas used his gun once again and shot at 2 men who were walking. Both of these men were injured. At the intersection of El Embarcadero and Sabado Tarde, Lucas engaged in gunfire with police officers who had finally caught up with him. During the gunfire, the shooter was injured in the left hip, but Lucas continued to drive, even though he was injured. At 6584 Del Playa, he hit another male with his vehicle. The man was riding his bike when Lucas steered his car towards him and struck the man, injuring him. As Lucas was driving his vehicle, he realized that he was caught, and there was no going back now. He took his Sig Sauer 9mm semi-automatic pistol, put it to his head, and pulled the trigger. Lucas lost control of his vehicle, and it caused him to crash into several parked cars before coming to a stop. The attack was over. The police had a total of 17 crime scenes to investigate. We'll be right back after these short messages. A total of 6 people lost their lives on May 23, 2014, and 14 others were injured. Wei Han Wang, who went by David, was 20 years old and was one of Lucas's roommates that had been stabbed. David was from Fremont, California, and he was an engineering student. David and his parents came to the United States from China about 10 years earlier. His parents lost their only child. David graduated from Fremont Christian School and studied engineering in college. He loved playing video games and enjoyed playing basketball. David was actually planning on finding a different apartment because Lucas would play loud music, which upset David because he had a tough course and the music disrupted his studying. He died from 15 stab wounds and 23 incision wounds. Another one of Lucas's roommates that he killed was Chen Hong, who went by James. James was 20 years old from San Jose, California, and was a computer science major. He grew up in Taipei and graduated from Lynbrook High School in San Jose, California in 2012. James was known for the windbreakers he wore just about every day and had them in many different colors. He died from 25 stab wounds and 12 incision wounds. George Chen was a friend of both David and James. He was killed when he entered the apartment with two friends. George was 19 years old and was also from San Jose, California. Both of his parents were engineers, therefore George was also studying to be an engineer. He was a very sweet and playful young man who would often help his elderly neighbors by getting their mail or taking out their trash. George was also a volunteer at a Buddhist-based organization. He died from 94 stab wounds and 12 incision wounds. One of the females that was murdered outside of the sorority house was Catherine Cooper, and she went by Katie. Katie was 22 years old from Chino Hills, California, and was studying art history and archaeology. She was a member of the Delta Delta sorority and was kind, caring, and strong. Katie will always be remembered as being outgoing and having a lot of energy. She died from multiple gunshot wounds, 8 wounds in total.
I never met anyone who was more willing to lend a helping hand.
Veronica Weiss was also murdered in front of the sorority house. She was 19 years old and in her first year of college. Veronica was very athletic and played water polo for the Westlake High School. She also ran cross-country, played baseball, and was a part of the swim team. She played in the Westlake Baseball League and was the only girl out of around 500 people who were on the team. Veronica was always known for being a tomboy and had 2 younger brothers, though she was very wise and mature for her age. She enjoyed doing math and was in advanced math classes as she wanted a career in finance. Veronica was part of the Tri Delta sorority, as were her mother and her grandmother. She also died from multiple gunshot wounds. 7 wounds in total.
She was kind. She was the person who would reach out to the kids who weren't the popular kids, some of the nerdy kids, some of the kids that were a little bit like this Roger kid described himself as being kind of a little bit of an outcast.
She was just a very passionate, loving individual.
Christopher Michael Martinez died from a single gunshot wound while he was waiting outside of a deli after purchasing a bag of chips. The bullet entered the left side of his cheek and exited on the right side, puncturing his liver and his heart. Chris was only 20 years old when he was taken from this earth. He was from Los Osos, California, and was an English major. While in high school, Chris played football and basketball. He was also planning on attending law school, as his mom was a district attorney, and his father was a criminal defense attorney. Chris was very studious and an avid reader. Isla Vista, California is located in Santa Barbara County. Santa Barbara County is known for having some of the highest house prices in the United States. In 2010, the population of Isla Vista was about 23,000 people. Almost the entire population is made up of college students ranging in age from 18 to 23 years old. Del Playa Drive is one of the major streets in Isla Vista and is the most well-known. Every year there is a huge Halloween party on Del Playa Drive that the entire community of college students look forward to. When it's not Halloween, college house parties are usually the biggest attraction. Recently, there has been a lot of controversy in the housing community because some of the apartment buildings are falling off the rapidly eroding cliffs. The investigation into the Isla Vista massacre was extensive, to say the least. As previously